As previously mentioned, my name's Chris Greatorex. I'm a Detective Sergeant for the South East Regional Cybercrime Unit. Basically, I'm a cybercrime police officer. And my main role is this, basically. It's about coming out to events like this, engaging with businesses to raise their awareness of cybersecurity and the threat that the cyber world poses, if you like. I hate using the word cyber. Because it's good because in some ways it elicits investment, but at the same time it confuses people. When people think, you hear the word cyber, sometimes in people's heads they like sort of switch off and they're like not interested because it's too hard or it's too complicated, it fits into that box. Excellent. It's fine, I can chat without my slides anyway. I'll chat to you about sport or... So for me, cybercrime is about forgetting the cyber element, and it's just focusing on crime. Because it's just crime, it's just in a different format. And the way these criminals or these organised criminal groups, they've managed to industrialise the whole process. So whereas if you had a traditional business, you'd get somebody coming around to try and sell you fake goods maybe, or to say, I've just done some work next door, can I borrow your vacuum or your Hoover? And then they disappear off with it. Or if somebody sends you a letter saying you need to pay this bill through the post. Now, because it's the cyber world, if you like, they send emails. And because everybody's trying to cope with that amount of data and that amount of information, people accept emails for what they are. They don't expect to have a fraudulent email sent to them that says transfer 40,000 or 100,000 or 900,000 pounds into this account. They expect it's from that person. And because everybody's so busy, they don't do that checking call. They don't ring up their managing director to say, is this you or is this come from somebody who you wouldn't expect it to be from? And I've got plenty of examples. So I see all the data from, so anybody reports a crime to Action Fraud, I see all that data. It's a bit delayed, but yeah, so mandate fraud is a really, really big one at the moment. There's lots of spoof emails going around saying, pretending to be from the managing director to pay bills, and I see at least two a day maybe. Some of the biggest ones, £900,000 paid, and the accountants don't manage to get that money, or they don't recognise they've lost that money for 30 days. And in that 30 days, that money's been split up and transferred and sent to the Ukraine or Russia or anywhere across the globe, because we're an international economy now, and that money's gone. The police have very little chance to actually be able to recover that. And so the likelihood of you getting that money back is very, very minimal. So now I have my slides up. That's me at Milton Keynes. We can whiz through all these. So yeah, I am a regional police officer. This green bit is my patch, if you like. So I do a lot of driving, as you can imagine. But there's one of me in each of the regions getting that information out there. And obviously, I work very closely with the NCA. So if there's an international threat or a criminal in my area that the NCA are interested in, then they come and let me know. And at the same sense, I work with the local forces. So again, if they've got a local issue they can't cope with or they don't have the capacity to deal with, then they come to us. In terms of cybercrime, I put numbers up there because people like numbers, but I just say it's massive. Just put a pound sign in front of it and put lots and lots of zeros behind it, because it is just massive and it's only getting bigger. And as soon as you put that data up there, it's just irrelevant anyway, because it's moved on and it's always out of date. But the theme from that slide is they're out to attack you, okay? And you need to protect yourselves, because the police can't cope. Realistically, we can't deal with the amount of cybercrime that's out there. If I can raise your awareness and prevent you from being victims of crime, then I've done my job. Because the police's first mission, this is Peel's first principle, is if I can protect you from being a victim of crime, then we don't need the very expensive and very, very costly and time-consuming bit after it, which costs everybody a lot of money and a lot of pain. And the fact is, by doing simple, basic steps, we can protect ourselves from 80% of that stuff out there. So you don't need to be the best in the world at something, you don't need to be the best at cybersecurity, you just need to be better than the low-hanging fruit, because that's all the criminals are. That's the reason why they're there, because they are picking the low-hanging fruit. They're picking, if they're a bear, they're going to pick the slowest runner. They're not interested in the runners in front of them. So in terms of protecting yourselves, you just have to be faster than the slowest person, if you like. So, and that 80% is really easy to get to. It's simple, basic stuff. And it's not techie stuff. It's stuff like having processes and policies and procedures in place. It's like having backups, for instance. It's like testing those backups to make sure that when it happens, you're protected. So in terms of how you're going to find out you're a victim of crime, these are just like the top 7 that I thought of. Sometimes you might highlight number 5. Journalists doorstepping you like they did at Talk. They doorstepped the chief executives and said, do you realise your data's been hacked? How do you react to that? So if somebody sticks a camera in your face, how do you react to that? What do you say? Have you got a plan? Have you thought about if it happens to you? Sometimes the police might come and tell you. We might come along and say, actually, we've been looking on the dark web and we found all your information's shared online. Again, what would happen if that had happened? We've got sometimes your customers might come and tell you. They might say, I've just been contacted by one of your competitors because one of your ex-employees has left and now joined them, and they happen to have taken all your data with them and taken it to their new company. And we've investigated a couple of companies exactly like that. They've taken their old company's data to their new company. Does anybody know who that is? Okay, glad. His name is Willie Sutton. He was asked probably the world's stupidest question, which was, why do you rob banks? He's a bank robber. He's an American bank robber in about 1900, something like that. What do you think he said?
Because that's where the money is.
Exactly, because that's where the money is. The stupidest question ever. Why do you rob banks? But it's the same question. So why are cyber criminals after you? Because that's where the money is. Because that's where the easy targets are. They're not going to attack big corporates, or they're less likely to attack big corporates like banks and international companies, because they've got the money to invest into having very high levels of security. They're not going to attack the individuals because they've got less money. Right in the sweet spot for the criminals are the SME community, because time is money and you don't have as much money to invest in security and policies and things like that. That's why they're targeting you guys. So does anybody know about this website? It's called Have I Been Pwned? So basically, if there's a massive data breach, so does everybody know about Ashley Madison, TalkTalk, LinkedIn had a data breach. All of those websites were breached. So nothing anybody did wrong other than that company. They managed to have all their users and all their accounts compromised. So then what happens is these hackers then sell that data. So you're talking millions and millions and billions of account details being leaked on the web or being sold to other criminals. So basically what the person who runs this website is a security consultant. He's been regularly checked, and he does this for the benefit of the world, if you like. So you can stick your email address in there and find out if your name, your password, your date of birth, your home address, your national insurance number, your credit card details, your CVV number, if any of those have been breached. So that's exactly what I did with all your emails. I stuck them in there. So out of 30 people, how many do you think are on that list?
3. 20.
There's about 8 people. So there's 8 people in this room whose details have been compromised. So potentially your email accounts and your all that address, your account details, your credit card numbers, your inside leg measurements, all that stuff is out there on the web. So that's how they identify you as a target, basically. And then they'll look at you and say, what can I get from that person? Or they'll actually have computer bots that actually look at it automatically and try and identify you. And that's why you get the phishing emails. So I did this once, I have to admit. So I did this once where I sometimes ask for people's email addresses, and I tap it into them and then press go. And it actually came up that this person was on the Ashley Madison list. Yeah, it was uncomfortable. But yeah, we'll move on. So one of the other biggest threats from criminals is ransomware. Does everybody know about this? Has anybody been infected by it? Did you recover? Did you have backups?
It took a while. Backups at the company took about a week. They were really slow at getting their data back to us. And then when they thought they'd cleared it all, about 6 months later, it reinfected itself again. Obviously, we changed everything and had plans in place to get up and running within 2 hours.
Yeah. And that's generally what I see from the business sector. It's about, it's just causing you stress and hassle because you're unable to operate for a week. But ransomware's moving on. So people do pay this ransom to get their data back. But what the criminals are doing is they're reinvesting that money because they've got a shed full of money. It's all bitcoins, it's all digital economy, but they've got loads of money. They've got more money than they can do with. So they're now reinvesting it back into the developing stronger, more complicated ransomware. So there'll be a point where you may not be able to recover from it, or they'll wait until they'll look at your backup strategy, and if your backup strategy is 30 days, it'll sit there for 31 days and then infect you. Because all they want you to do is they want you to pay, which is why you can't just protect something by having a blinky flashy box in the corner of the room in your server room, because it's about educating your users, because they're potentially the biggest door to get into your environment. Because I'm probably running on time, I'll just quickly cover this person. So again, this is the when I mentioned about one employer moving to another. This is the same kind of thing, although slightly different. This is a software company who actually hacked into, through the VPN into another software vendor's company, and they managed to gain some customers from it, basically, and we managed to track them, and they all pleaded guilty, and they got disqualified from being directors of companies for 12 months. But it shows you the police are trying to investigate it. So we are there if you need us. If you want our help, we can help you. So, bit of a quiz. That is a NAS storage box. Anybody know what one of them is? Yep. Guess how much? How much would you pay for that? It's
on size, 150 pounds.
I think it's about 600 quid. This one. It's got maybe 10 terabytes in it, maybe. Okay. So it's a storage device that just fits in your server. If you're looking to do some work, maybe put a database on there, maybe of your clients. Cost you about 600 quid. So let's stick 60,000 usernames on it and 20,000 credit card details. How much do you think that's worth now?
Thousands.
Would you think about how would you protect that? Would you put encryption on it? Would you put it in a secure room?
No.
What happens if you lost that? How much would it cost you? Well, it cost Royal Sun Alliance £150,000. Basically, we investigated this. They lost one of those servers, and it literally had 60,000 usernames with 20,000 credit card details on it. And they had to report it to the ICO because obviously there's personal data on there, and yeah, they were fined £150,000. But that's just the cost, the actual fine itself, to Royal Sun Alliance. That's not the loss in customer reputation. It's not the loss, the actual data on there, trying to recover that data. They probably didn't have a backup of that system. It costs a lot of money for something that costs 600 quid to put into your server room. So it's about having those strategies and thinking about everything that's on your system could be a risk. And that fine is actually quite small. Because the GDPR is coming in. Does everybody know about the General Data Protection Regulations coming in? May 2018, it basically imposes the European laws on us, which is about recording where your data sits and who's retaining it, and basically it gives the ICO the ability to fine you a lot more money when there's a data breach. So this is about you preparing for when this law comes in, so that when you lose data, you can show that you tried to encrypt your data, you tried to update to the most current standards. So when they come along and say, well, you've lost data, but there's nothing you could have done about it, then they're less likely to fine you a large amount. Everybody heard about TalkTalk? I'm sure you had to have your head in a box if you don't know about TalkTalk. They were fined £400,000 for theirs. So The maximum the ICO will be able to fine them would be 4% of their global turnover or 20 million euros, whichever's higher. So I know, a little quiz, what's the global turnover of TalkTalk? Anybody want to guess? 1.84 billion. So I'm no mathematician, but I know that 4% of that value is a lot more than that value, by a lot. So the same thing's going to be replicated across the board. And the only other thing about GDPR is if you're breached, you've got to report it. And you have to report it within 72 hours. So it's something to look out for. So how do you protect yourselves? Other than cyber insurance or cyber liability insurance, for me it's about educating your staff. They are potentially the biggest access point into your systems. It's about making sure they're aware of the current threats. It's trying to phish them, to pretend to be a criminal and send them a spoof email, because you can get these software tools online. They're free and they're easily available. You can pretend to be somebody. You can pretend to be your boss and send an email to them and say, would you transfer this money, just to see if they click on the link. It's about staff awareness campaigns. So it's not just about doing the yearly, this is how you protect yourself, this is the threat. It's about every single day, making it part of your key business to stay secure and to expect these threats coming in. And it's about physical security as well. So it's about having locks on doors and challenging people you don't recognise, people walking in with ladders. You open the door because we're English and we let people in when they've got things in their hands. It's about challenging them kind of people, and seeing and just being a bit more cynical about the stuff that comes in on emails and things like that. So very quickly, Cyber Essentials is government initiated. It protects you from that 80%. It's designed to be easy to understand. It's done on 5 main areas, if you like. And it's about doing policies and procedures and training and awareness and having backup procedures and things like that, and actually testing your backups as well. Further on than that, you've got the 10 steps to cybersecurity. Again, it's about developing that cybersecurity strategy, if you like. Action fraud is where all reports of cybercrime should go to, unless it's a call to action. So if you've been hit by ransomware, call the local police, because it's actually something that's happening now. If it's something that has happened, like it's a phishing email or something like that, you've noticed and you think, well, actually, I want to tell somebody about that, or I've got something that's come through on text to say my Apple account's been compromised, please click here to verify your details. That's the kind of thing you report to Action Fraud, so they can log it from a national perspective to be able to respond to the crime, because Action Fraud, if they get maybe 100,000 reports that have all got the same thing, so the same ransomware attack with the same locker, they can go, actually, we need to allocate this to a police officer to investigate. So they'll put all those 100,000 crimes into as one crime and go, there you go, Chris, you investigate that. You try and disrupt that criminal gang, if you like, because that's what it is. It's a criminal gang. So yeah, please report things to Action Fraud. It offers support, and there's loads of information out there. And that is it for me.